Thank you for your time. Each subscription is a sign of support that I truly appreciate.
The Missouri River flows westward, brown and endless. Beyond its banks lies territory unmapped by any American expedition. President Jefferson purchased it sight unseen. Now, 45 men prepare to enter wilderness where winter kills unprepared travelers and hostile tribes guard ancient hunting grounds. Captain Meriwether Lewis stands at the water's edge, journal pressed against chest. He carries presidential orders, scientific instruments, tobacco for diplomacy. Behind him, wooden keelboat and 2 pirogues wait heavy with supplies. Ahead stretches 8,000 miles of uncertainty he must survive or die mapping. William Clark checks his compass one final time. Red hair catches morning light as he inventories rifles, powder, dried meat, whiskey. The crew trusts him to navigate rivers no white man has charted. He trusts Lewis to lead them home. Together they share command, arrangement doomed or brilliant. You've heard stories of men who ventured west and vanished. Spanish territories, British fur traders, indigenous nations, all claim portions of this land. Jefferson needs maps, resources, trade routes to the Pacific. He needs knowledge of what lies between oceans. These explorers will answer or die trying. I'm John Coulter, 29, unmarried, expendable. My family believes I've gone mad pursuing this. Maybe I have. But standing here on May 14th, 1804, watching river curve into fog, I feel more alive than rotting in Virginia dirt forever would make me. The expedition carries contradictions. Beads, mirrors, medals stamped with Jefferson's profile for friendship. Swivel guns mounted on keelboat. Enough firepower to intimidate any river ambush. Lewis believes diplomacy prevails. Clark loads extra powder regardless. Frontier taught them trust, but verify, smile, but arm yourself thoroughly. York, Clark's enslaved companion, stands taller than most expedition members. He'll navigate dangerous territory while denied freedom in his own country. Indigenous peoples will marvel at his dark skin, consider him medicine, mystery, equal. Back home, Virginia law defines him as property. Which world speaks truth? Sacagawea hasn't joined them yet. She's pregnant, living among Hidatsa tribe, married to French-Canadian trapper Charbonneau. In months, she'll carry infant son across mountains no woman has crossed before. Today she's unknown to these men preparing boats. Destiny hasn't announced itself to anyone involved yet. The keelboat creaks under impossible weight. 2 tons of supplies that must last until they find game or starve. One submerged log punctures the hull. Everything sinks. Food, weapons, gunpowder, Jefferson's letters. Lewis designed reinforced storage, hoping wood holds against river's violence. Hope isn't strategy. They're gambling lives on carpentry. Lewis writes final letters to Jefferson, explaining preparations, acknowledging risks ahead. He doesn't mention his bouts of melancholy, darkness that sometimes swallows thoughts whole. Adventure pushes back depression temporarily. Movement quiets doubt constantly. River calls, and he answers, because standing still means confronting himself alone. May the 14th, 1804. Ropes release and keelboat lurches into the current violently. Soldiers row against Missouri's force while others pull from wooden platforms frantically. River fights back, swirling brown and angry underneath. Camp Wood disappears behind cottonwood trees into history. There's no turning back now regardless. I'm rowing position 3, starboard side. Hands already blister despite calluses earned clearing frontier land for years. Sergeant yells cadence, but current drowns his voice entirely. Water splashes over bow constantly. My neighbor's oar catches mine, nearly knocking me sideways overboard. 8,000 miles of this ahead. Darkness falls and panthers scream from timber, like women being murdered slowly. The crew huddles around fires, rifles loaded, watching shadows move between trees menacingly. Mosquitoes swarm inside mouths, ears, nostrils persistently. Private Collins swears he saw eyes reflecting firelight. Human or animal, nobody investigates. First Night teaches fears many languages clearly. The expedition faces immediate discipline problems testing leadership. Private John Collins drinks on guard duty. Moses Reed deserts, stealing rifle and supplies both. Clark orders Reed whipped, 100 lashes delivered publicly. Man screams, begs, collapses bleeding. Others watch silently. Mercy weakens authority here. Wilderness respects only strength. They pass abandoned French trading posts, remnants of earlier dreams rotting. Wooden walls collapse into earth slowly. Rust devours metal ceaselessly. Frontier swallows ambition whole.
I'm grateful for every one of you. Your subscription keeps this channel alive. Thank you.
Lewis wonders if future travelers will find their expedition's remains scattered similarly. Bones whitening in prairie grass, journals rotting into mulch, names forgotten into obscurity. Charles Floyd develops severe abdominal pain that August brings. Lewis administers purges, bloodletting, laudanum, every medical intervention he knows urgently. Nothing helps stop death's approach. Floyd's appendix bursts, poisoning blood entirely. August 20th, he dies, expedition's only casualty. They bury him on bluff overlooking river. 44 continue westward. Sergeant Floyd's death changes everything about perception. Mortality isn't abstract anymore. It's grave on hillside haunting them. The crew performs duties mechanically, avoiding eye contact, imagining their own deaths constantly. Lewis writes elaborate scientific descriptions, losing himself in botanical details. Clark maintains military discipline rigidly. Routine becomes armor against consuming fear. You've never seen prairie like this. Grass stretches to horizon, taller than mounted men riding through. Buffalo herds number in thousands, blackening landscape utterly. Pronghorn antelope race boats, achieving impossible speeds effortlessly. Lewis fills journals with observations daily. Every day reveals creatures European scientists never classified previously. Chief Big Horse accepts Jefferson's medal, weighing it carefully before hanging it around his neck ceremonially. His warriors stand close, arrows within reach always. He smiles, but his eyes count rifles, measure distances to boats, calculate odds. Lewis speaks friendship. Big Horse speaks caution. Neither believes the other fully. Translation loses truth intentionally. Private George Shannon gets lost hunting alone. Days pass without return, worrying everyone. Lewis fears death, desertion, capture by hostiles. Expedition continues upstream, leaving signs, firing rifles, hoping Shannon hears gunshots. 16 days later, he stumbles back emaciated, ashamed, embarrassed. He survived on grapes and one rabbit only. Teton Sioux demand tribute, half expedition supplies as payment for river passage rights. Warriors surround boats, arrows knocked ready. Clark raises sword, orders cannons loaded immediately. Both sides hesitate at violence's edge tensely. One arrow changes everything permanently. Diplomacy wins by narrowest margin possible. They retreat downstream, hearts pounding hard. I thought combat would feel glorious, defending comrades, proving courage, earning stories worth repeating proudly. Instead, my hands trembled, loading rifle shakily. My bladder nearly failed entirely. The Sioux warrior facing me looked terrified too, just another young man pretending bravery convincingly, wondering if today meant dying far from home. Winter approaches faster than anticipated or planned. They construct Fort Mandan near present-day North Dakota, racing against November's first blizzards arriving. Soldiers fell cottonwood trees, raise walls, pack mud between logs carefully. Mandan and Hidatsa tribes offer friendship, trade, information about western routes ahead. Survival requires indigenous knowledge urgently. Toussaint Charbonneau offers services as interpreter fluently. He speaks Hidatsa, bringing expertise worth considering seriously. He also brings Sacagawea, his teenage wife purchased from Hidatsa captors previously. She's 16, pregnant, property in her husband's eyes only. Lewis and Clark see utility. Shoshone woman, knowing western mountains, signaling peaceful intentions clearly. Private White House loses 3 toes to frostbite. Blackened flesh cut away without anesthetic available. His screams echo across frozen river while others hold him down forcefully. Temperatures outside measure 40 below zero regularly. Inside fort, breath freezes on beards instantly. Everyone stops talking, conserving warmth frantically. Winter doesn't negotiate. It kills or passes eventually. February 11th, 1805. Sacagawea delivers her son after hours of complicated labor. Lewis crushes rattlesnake rattles into water. Frontier remedy learned from indigenous midwives practicing here. 10 minutes later, Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau enters world, crying. Sacagawea rests briefly, then returns to daily tasks immediately. Motherhood doesn't pause exploration's demands. Old Mandan Chief shakes his head slowly when Lewis describes their planned route west. He draws mountains and dirt, jagged peaks rising endlessly. He points to sky, makes snow falling motion, draws corpses frozen. His son attempted that crossing 3 winters ago. They found his body when snow melted, half-eaten by wolves. Lewis records warning. Clark packs extra ammunition. You're watching 45 people defy reasonable caution thoroughly. They carry infant, travel without maps, trust information from strangers who've never seen Pacific themselves. They follow President's vision, river's course, their own hunger for something beyond farmsteads and familiar ground safely. Madness or greatness? History decides only after success. First grizzly bear attack happens swiftly without warning. Massive silver-tipped bear charges. Private Bratton, running. 6 rifles fire frantically. Bear continues, absorbing bullets, roaring furiously. Only concentrated fire brings death finally. They measure beast, 8 feet, 600 pounds, claws like knives sharp. Lewis writes detailed descriptions. Clark loads extra powder immediately. I dreamed last night about Virginia, my sister's wedding. Cornbread cooling on windowsill peacefully. Waking meant reality. Sleeping on rocky ground, eating dried meat. Wondering what monsters today brings violently. Memory transforms into torture, increasingly. Past offers comfort, but no survival tools. I choose forward because backward leads nowhere, except regret consuming. The great falls appear like nature's contradiction. Water plunging over cliffs, mist rising into rainbows, deafening roar drowning thought utterly. Beautiful and impossible simultaneously. They must portage everything 18 miles around cascading water endlessly. Keelboat gets abandoned permanently. Supplies transfer to smaller boats, pulled overland through cactus and rattlesnake territory. June transforms into agony. Portaging takes nearly an entire month of suffering. The crew hauls boats over makeshift wooden wheels, breaking. Prickly pear spines pierce moccasins, drawing blood constantly. Hailstorms pelt them like grape shot violently. Clark's slave York carries double loads without complaint, ever. Sacagawea, recovering from illness, carries son while gathering edible roots. Strength reveals itself in suffering's crucible. Lewis carves Meriwether Lewis into granite beside Wisdom River. Letters deep enough to outlast his lifetime, presumably. Clark watches silently, knowing vanity when witnessing it. Indigenous peoples named these waters centuries before Europeans arrived claiming discovery. Future Americans will rename everything again, erasing Lewis entirely, probably. Stone remembers longer than humans. Rivers ignore all names equally. Sacagawea recognizes landmarks, from childhood stolen. These mountains held her Shoshone people before Hidatsa raiders captured her violently. Memory brings pain. Stolen childhood, murdered friends, family presumably dead or scattered into history. She guides expedition despite personal trauma overwhelming. Her infant son nurses while she points toward mountain passes ahead. Duty overwhelms emotion. Shoshone appear suddenly. Warriors on horseback, testing strangers' intentions carefully. Lewis advances unarmed, holding up trade goods, speaking peace earnestly. Sacagawea recognizes Chief as her brother Kamiah miraculously. Years dissolve instantly. She weeps, translating, reuniting emotionally. Expedition receives horses, guides, information critically. One woman's tragedy transforms into collective salvation remarkably. Crossing Bitterroot Mountains nearly destroys them utterly. Snow falls in September, covering trails entirely. Horses slip, falling down ravines fatally. Food runs out urgently. They eat candles, portable soup, anything sustaining life barely. Lewis's journals shorten, exhausted prose reflecting physical collapse. Clark pushes forward because stopping means freezing to death immediately. I can't feel my feet anymore at all. Toes turned black yesterday, probably frostbitten beyond healing permanently. We ate last horse 3 days ago, urgently. My rifle feels impossibly heavy carrying. Man ahead collapses unconscious. We lift him, continue walking mechanically. Nobody speaks, wasting energy. We've transformed into animals focused solely on survival. Nez Perce tribe saves them from certain death. Chief Twisted Hair provides food, shelter, guidance generously. His people could slaughter weakened expedition easily, without resistance. Instead, they offer hospitality, teach canoe-building techniques, explain river routes to Pacific carefully. Indigenous generosity contradicts European assumptions about savage wilderness wholly. Civilization exists everywhere humans practice mercy. Columbia River pulls canoes westward faster than rowing ever moved them eastward against Missouri's resistance. Current transforms into ally finally. The crew smells salt air mixing with pine scent, tastes ocean on wind before seeing water. Private McNeil shouts first. There, blue horizon meeting gray sky differently. Pacific exists. Jefferson's impossible order approaches possible. Paddles strike water frantically. Rain begins November the 1st and doesn't stop falling. Coastal weather drowns everything. Clothes, journals, spirits thoroughly. They taste salt water, confirming ocean proximity finally. But storms trap them on river's north bank frustratingly. Waves pound ceaselessly without mercy. They've traveled thousands of miles only to squat miserable yards from success.
Thank you for your time. Each subscription is a sign of support that I truly appreciate.
Clark carves into spruce tree near ocean shore. William Clark, December the 3rd, 1805, by land from United States. Words claim territory his feet stand upon. They've reached Pacific, ocean's edge, fulfilling Jefferson's impossible orders successfully. Yet triumph feels hollow in relentless rain. Wind howls. Sacagawea's sun coughs constantly worrying. They're stranded 8,000 miles from home. You've reached ocean, but not the end of danger. Return journey awaits, retracing steps, surviving winter, navigating hostile territories again, hoping luck holds twice consecutively. Success means arriving back alive, delivering maps and journals to Jefferson waiting. Reaching destination wasn't the achievement ultimately. Survival will be. Half the journey remains ahead. They vote on winter camp location, every member casting equal voice, including York and Sacagawea remarkably. Slave and indigenous woman voting alongside white soldiers equally. Democracy functions imperfectly here, miles from laws denying their humanity legally. They choose South Bank unanimously. Fort Clatsop rises slowly, logs cut and stacked, temporary home. I've stopped imagining Virginia entirely. Memory hurts too much bearing. Instead, I focus on immediate survival, keeping powder dry, repairing moccasins, hunting elk, avoiding frostbite constantly. Present demands complete attention. Tomorrow might bring death. Yesterday doesn't matter anymore. I've transformed into someone unrecognizable to my former self. Frontier rebuilt me wholly. Private Willard breaks his knife, prying apart frozen elk meat, blade snapping like glass in cold. He stares at broken handle, then weeps. Not for knife, but for everything accumulating. Rain drums on rotting roof constantly. Fleas bite through wet clothing persistently. Clark records daily, rain, rain, rain. Lewis catalogs species, seeking purpose. Waiting transforms into its own torture. Expedition encounters beached whale, massive skeleton picked clean by Clatsop villagers efficiently. Sacagawea demands to see ocean monster, asserting her rights despite gender and status limitations. She's traveled equally far, suffered equally hard alongside soldiers. Clark agrees surprisingly. They walk beach, infant strapped to her back, examining bones. Equality appears briefly. March 23rd, 1806. Fort Clatsop stands empty behind them, ghosts already haunting abandoned rooms where men survived winter barely. Ocean roars goodbye violently. Columbia River flows against them now, every mile earned through bleeding hands and exhausted bodies. Lewis writes, "We are now about to penetrate a country at least 2,000 miles in width. They've done this before. Fear remains fresh regardless. Return journey moves faster. experience replacing uncertainty thoroughly. They know rivers, anticipate dangers, recognize friendly tribes encountered, yet exhaustion accumulates dangerously. Bodies weakened by 2 years' hardship can't fully recover strength. Private Cruzat accidentally shoots Lewis in buttocks during elk hunt. Expedition leader spends weeks unable to sit, dignity wounded alongside flesh. I'm rowing. Again, same position, starboard side familiar. But everything changed dramatically. My hands bear permanent scars from hardships. I've killed grizzlies, survived mountains, witnessed ocean. We're 20 miles from where Floyd died alone. His grave looks undisturbed peacefully. We pause, removing hats, remembering. He's permanent here. We're temporary everywhere passing. Mandan villages appear unchanged externally. Expedition is transformed internally. They leave Sacagawea, Charbonneau, Little Baptiste behind, their contract fulfilled entirely. Lewis offers to educate Boy properly. Sacagawea smiles, non-committal deliberately. She'll raise her son in her way, not Jefferson's vision. Explorers row away. One woman made success possible ultimately. History will nearly forget. September brings them into familiar territory. Missouri River winding through lands they recognize finally. Settlers appear, shocked at seeing expedition alive. Everyone assumed they died out west. Newspapers printed obituaries mourning them. Jefferson mourned privately deeply. Now, they're ghosts returning from wilderness death, bearing maps and journals and stories nobody anticipated hearing. 45 departed Camp Wood that May morning. 44 return now, Floyd resting permanently on Prairie Bluff upriver. They've survived 28 months, traveled 8,000 miles through unmapped continent. Jefferson's impossible gamble paid off. The West stands revealed finally. Territory that existed only in indigenous memory now fills American maps. Everything shifts. Destiny finds its direction. September 23rd, 1806. Expedition reaches St. Louis victoriously. Crowds gather, cheering, firing rifles in celebration wildly. Lewis and Clark stand awkwardly in boats, uncertain how to process public adoration, overwhelming. They're frontier survivors, uncomfortable with civilization's noise and expectations pressing. Fame awaits ahead, but they'll never readjust fully. Wilderness marked permanently. Jefferson holds Lewis's buffalo robe in White House, running fingers across thick fur while reading journal entries about grizzlies that absorbed 8 rifle balls before dying. These men survived mountains that killed horses, starvation that drove them to eat candles, tribes that could have slaughtered them. They returned carrying proof. Pacific is reachable, continent is crossable. His vision cost blood, sanity, years. Worth it? History will judge harshly or kindly. Lewis becomes territorial governor, but struggles with civilian life wholly. Darkness he outran through movement catches him finally. October 11th, 1809, he dies mysteriously. Suicide or murder, history never decides definitively. Wilderness didn't kill him ultimately. Peace did fatally. Some men only survived during war. Adventure replaced demons temporarily. Home brought darkness back. Clark lives decades longer, serving as superintendent of Indian affairs, attempting diplomacy with tribes expedition befriended previously. He protects York's freedom after years of renewed slavery cruelly. He adopts Sacagawea's son, Baptiste, educating him as promised to her. Clark dies at 68, having outlived most expedition members. Survival sometimes means witnessing everyone's death. Sacagawea's fate remains disputed among historians. Some records claim she died in 1812, aged 24 tragically. Others insist she lived to 90, dying on Wind River Reservation in 1884 peacefully. History loses track of women easily, carelessly. She guided 44 men across continents successfully. Records can't agree when she died. Which story tells truth? I survived physically. That's all I can say with certainty, honestly. Man who left Virginia doesn't exist anymore entirely. Frontier killed him, replacing him with this scarred stranger who dreams of grizzlies and drowning nightly. I drink too much. I startle at sudden noises. Peace feels like waiting for death. I'm home, but simultaneously exiled into permanent otherness. Lewis brought back grizzly claws, Mandan buffalo robes, prairie dog specimens, indigenous vocabularies, botanical samples nobody could classify. Clark brought back maps showing rivers, mountains, tribes, distances, dangers between oceans. Together, they proved continents could be crossed, Pacific trade was achievable. They demonstrated that vision, however costly, sometimes survives reality's brutality. Knowledge has price. Someone always pays it. Private John Coulter watches wealthy St. Louis merchants shake captains' hands enthusiastically, while ignoring ordinary soldiers standing nearby. Newspapers interview Lewis and Clark exclusively. Congress grants captains thousands of acres. Coulter receives 320 acres and dismissal from service. He carried same weight, faced identical bears, starved equally hard. History remembers rank exclusively, forgets labor. He returns west permanently, preferring wilderness honesty to civilization's lies. Imagine standing at Missouri's edge, watching brown water curve into fog, knowing 8,000 miles of uncertainty lie ahead through wilderness. Imagine choosing forward, despite reasonable fear paralyzing. That's what May 14, 1804 meant. 45 people rejecting safety, embracing potential death, trusting that movement itself justified risk. Courage looks like boarding boats toward unknown. Expedition didn't discover wilderness. Indigenous peoples lived there for millennia previously. It didn't tame frontier peacefully. Settlers died there for decades afterward violently. It didn't open west peacefully either. Conquest followed, displacing nations, destroying cultures, claiming land through violence systematically. Expedition gave Jefferson his map requested. What America did with that knowledge reveals national character, vision and brutality inseparable. I returned from expedition, expecting parades, celebrations, permanent glory earned. Instead, I received land grants I couldn't farm successfully, stories nobody believed hearing, nightmares that never stopped haunting. Wilderness gave me everything and took everything simultaneously. I'm wealthy and empty thoroughly. I survived, but can't explain survival's cost to anyone who wasn't there. May 14, 1804. 45 explorers pushed boats into Missouri's current, beginning journey that would define centuries' expansion. They didn't know they'd survive successfully. They couldn't imagine consequences: territorial expansion, indigenous displacement, continental nation emerging. They only knew river flowed westward. They followed courageously. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes following rivers changes history utterly and irreversibly.
Thank you for your time. Each subscription is a sign of support that I truly appreciate.